Welcome! In this video, we will guide you through the replacement of O-rings in a Viking pump universal seal pump with an OPro cartridge seal. Before you begin, please consult the appropriate technical service manual for safety information. A copy of the latest revision can be found on our website at vikingpump.com. To begin, first bend up the tang on the lock washer. Insert the brass bar into the top port to prevent rotation of the rotor and shaft. Use the hook nose spanner to remove the lock nut and lock washer. Remove the brass bar. Loosen the two Allen head set screws on the face of the bearing housing. Use the 2-pin spanner wrench, if needed, to remove the bearing housing. Remove the bearing spacer collar. Remove the half-round rings, except on these sizes, which do not use them. Next, loosen and remove the gland nuts, securing the OPro cartridge seal in the bracket, and remove the T-bolts. Thread the jack bolts into the tapped holes at the top and bottom of the gland, and use a wrench to help press the seal out of the bracket, alternating back and forth between jack bolts. Remove the OPro cartridge seal. Remove the gasket and the two inner dynamic O-rings and discard. Clean as much old grease and product from the gland as possible, taking care not to nick the surfaces. Remove the grease relief fitting from the gland. The remainder of this video illustrates the process of replacing the two inner dynamic O-rings and gasket and reinstalling the OPro cartridge seal. Lubricate the O-rings and OPro cartridge gland thoroughly with O-ring lubricant or grease. Install the two inner dynamic O-rings in the gland ID grooves. Make sure you verify the O-ring material and ensure it is suitable for your application prior to installation. Install the gasket using an appropriate gasket sealant. Depending on your application, an outer static O-ring may be used instead of a gasket. The static O-ring may be placed in the available O-ring groove. Before installing the seal, inspect the shaft and clean any burrs from the shaft with an emery cloth to avoid damaging the O-rings during assembly. Slide the seal installation sleeve, if provided, over the shaft. The LS size pump does not use one. Lubricate the shaft and installation sleeve before installing the seal gland onto the shaft and through the bearing housing opening. The gland side with gasket must be installed onto the shaft first. The gland should be positioned with the grease fitting below the center line of the pump to avoid air pockets while greasing. Be careful not to allow the keyway or threads on the shaft to contact an O-ring. These may be taped over to ensure that O-rings aren't cut by sharp edges. Install the seal gland flush against the mounting face of the pump bracket. Secure the seal gland to the bracket using the bolts, washers, and nuts provided in the O-ring kit. Tighten both nuts on the gland bolts completely. Remove the seal installation sleeve. Now, replace the half-round rings and bearing spacer collar. Replace the bearing housing. Install the lock washer. Install the lock nut. Insert the brass bar into the port to prevent rotation of the rotor and shaft. Tighten the lock nut and bend a tang from the washer into a slot to lock the bearing to the shaft. Now set the end clearance. The technical service manual provides end clearance settings, or you can contact your local Viking pump distributor for the proper setting for your pump. A separate video, Setting End Clearance, which provides more detail on this procedure, is available on the Viking Pump website. After setting the end clearance, tighten the bearing housing set screws and test rotation. Next, grease the gland until grease comes out of the open hole where the grease relief fitting will go. After cleaning the excess grease off the gland, use thread sealant and install the grease relief fitting into the open hole and tighten. Finally, re-grease the gland until sufficient grease comes out of the grease relief fitting to ensure that all air has been purged. Rotating the shaft while greasing will help remove trapped air. Regular re-greasing is required, and discoloration of grease coming out of the relief fitting may be an indication that O-rings could soon need to be replaced, so having a replacement O-ring kit on hand would be recommended. Your Viking pump, universal seal pump with an OPro cartridge seal, has new O-rings and is ready to be put back into service. For more information, please visit our website at vikingpump.com.